everyone, and welcome to my talk show called Allowed to Talk. And today I'm going to continue reading from my book called Who Took My Self Esteem? And I'll be reading chapter 3. And a lot of times the truth teller in the family that wants to tell the truth and is told certain things, and you say, well, that's not right, or you said this or you said that, and you are shoved down or put down or told to be seen and not heard. Or then if you don't say anything because you're brought up that way, they say, did the cat get your tongue? All that. I talked about that in another show. But the truth teller that believes that you should live by what you're told and sees all this going on, and then you're told to be seen and not heard. Anyway, chapter 3 is where I'm at in my book. So I'm going to read that for you today. And I have a new camera, so let's hope it doesn't shut off like the other one used to. Chapter 3 in the book, Who Took My Self Esteem? Like who took my self-worth? Inner critics are like trolls. Chapter 3, Family of Origin. Don't shoot the messenger. My family of origin consisted of my mom and dad, 3 older brothers, and 6 older sisters. My mom gave birth to a boy first and then a girl second. Her 3rd child is a boy and her 4th child a girl. So, my mom was spoiled a bit with the boy-girl thing. Her 5th child is a girl and she wasn't thrilled since she wanted another boy. She never hid her favor of boys. She didn't have to say a word because her actions spoke much louder. She gave birth to 1 more boy after this, but the rest of her children are 4 girls. My mom talked with me one afternoon on a walk from my car into the house. I don't know where this topic came from, and it seemed to be out of nowhere about my childhood. She told me why I was given my first name. I was named after my dad's aunt. She told me that my middle name was her best friend's name. She told me that she was wanting a boy so bad. She told me she wanted to name me after my dad. I guess her last ditch effort for a boy, and oh, how disappointing for her that it was just me, another girl. I was in my early 20s in age at that time, and newly married and just starting a family of my own. Why was my mom trying to sort of half-assed make amends with me? I didn't ask her, and we never talked about this again. It took many more years to find answers to why I have no self-worth and the belief that I am a worthless nobody. At the tender age of 14, I was quite often struggling with the troll in my head, her inner critical voice from my mother. I never spoke up to defend myself unless I was holding my thoughts and opinions down inside my gut for months. I would scream out 4-letter words in a fit of rage. I was immediately shot down and told in a very critical and condescending tone, "You are not acting appropriately. You are acting crazy." Then I clammed up once again, and my opinions and thoughts were ignored. Once again slammed down into my gut to rumble and boil for many more months. My mother also told me most days, "You have nothing to complain about or cry about." When did I start to let go and have a good cry? When I did start to let go and have a good cry, I immediately had to stop, or else I usually ended up on the back porch with my cats or in the field up at the farm talking to the cattle. Sometimes I felt so alone in the crowd of my family surrounding me. Feeling like a nobody and actually having no one to confide in when I was 14 years old, I was struggling with self-worth terribly. I just started attending Youth for Christ meetings with 2 of my cousins and had just started to feel some self-worth. I actually was feeling more confident and happy. I was in the backyard with some of my family. Some were sitting on lawn chairs and some were playing a quick game of baseball with the younger kids, my mom's grandchildren. I was feeling quite giddy, and because I joined in the baseball game, I was running quite a bit. was running quite a bit. I also sipped on the water I took out to the backyard for refreshment. I had to use the bathroom, and I waited a bit longer than I should have, so I had to go. Really bad. I set my water down and proceeded into the old farmhouse my mother and father rented from my mother's parents. And they lived right across the sidewalk on the farm from us. Feeling jovial, I walked into the house with a light skip in my step. I walked up the old staircase to where the accordion-type folding door was, all that was between me and relief. There was no lock on that door. I grabbed the handle and pulled the door to the right to enter. What I found and saw that day in the bathroom would end up plummeting my self-worth deeper than the abyss of the ocean. I didn't realize it then, and now I realize I was traumatized by it. It, among other things, would affect my beliefs for the rest of my youth. I opened the bathroom door and I witnessed something I never ever thought I would ever see. My one older sister's husband was in a very passionate kiss with my 16-year-old sister. My brother-in-law was in his late 20s, and they just had a baby boy a few months before this shocking witness that traumatized me. My mind was whirling, and I was saying in my head, what should I do, over and over again. I quickly decided to run as fast as I could down the steps and outside. Remember, I was only 14 years old and only kissed by my family, other than Bernie Logan trying to kiss me on the schoolyard. But I was in shock. I ran straight to the backyard where his wife was playing baseball with a bunch of family members back there behind the big white farmhouse, my grandparents' home. I ran straight to my older sister and proceeded to tell her this. I just tried to use the bathroom and saw your husband kissing our 16-year-old sister. I was scared and shaking from what I just witnessed at my tender age of 14. Everyone dropped what they were doing and went into the house. I, once again all alone, was left standing in the backyard not knowing what to do. No one consoled me with actions such as a hug or words such as how to deal with the shock. I stood there for a few minutes, then went into my grandmother's house to go to the bathroom. No one talked to me or did anything for me or for me about this. Remember, I was never allowed to speak my mind or have an opinion. I fawned like a deer hiding from a lion. My 16-year-old sister and I shared a double bed. When I went to go to bed that night, my sister was already sleeping. I do not know if she was pretending to sleep or if she was really sleeping. I crawled into the bed around her. My spot was against the window, as she was too old to sleep. On the inside, in her mind, I was told that it's where I will sleep, or else. I was told that many years before that night. At times she drew an imaginary line down the middle and told me in a very mean voice that I shall not cross that line. I struggled to fall asleep that night, but I managed to get some needed rest. The next morning, still nothing was being said to me to console or care about me. I went to a book I had about life and proceeded to cut out things about adultery. I learned that word when I went to Youth for Christ meetings with my cousins. I placed the two sayings. I taped them on the headboard of our double bed that my 16-year-old sister and I shared. I do not know the time of day when she found the sayings. I did know she went to my mom and she whined that I was being mean to her. My mom screamed my name as she came up the steps to our bedroom. She had me sit down and she proceeded to scold me harshly. My own mother turned on me and told me that what I did was so horrible, and I shall never do such a thing again to her precious daughter. Still no conversation about how I should, could, or would deal with the trauma I went through the day before. Nor would there ever be one with my mother. I was labeled the bad one again. The only conversation about the necking kiss was with my guilty sister. Many years later, after I called her in a fit of rage, I was never taught that I had a life of my own to live. I was told that I would conform to every little thing they say. I would be told to shut up if I had an opinion that would be the opposite of my mother's. My childhood caused me to have complex post-traumatic stress. I knew something was wrong, but did not know what the heck it was for a long time. I already knew at that time, and so did a few of my other siblings, that my mom struggled with saving and rescuing people from themselves. She was there for whoever needed saving, and no matter who had to go down in the meantime, she rescued the messy children. I was the messenger that was shot point blank dead after my mom and the actual sister whose husband she was kissing passionately rescued the 16-year-old sister. I was interpreted as the evil, and my sister that did the wrong was labeled the angel. I was the messenger of the bad news, and no one wanted to hear this bad news, much less believe it. I still wonder what was said to my, at that time, 16-year-old sister. Did my other sister's husband cover it up somehow by insisting it was just a small kiss? I know this for certain. I was dead to my mom. I was the scapegoat because she didn't want to believe this happened. The truth seeker that told it and was traumatized by it, and then the messenger of the bad news. Therefore, I was shot. Bang! Dead to them. They would look in the messenger's face, me, and hear the words that changed some lives that day forever. My mother couldn't be angry with her precious child for doing evil, so my mother chose to tie anger on my back. I wasn't sent to the fields or woods like a scapegoat, but I spent many hours in the fields talking to the cattle. I had no one else who would listen at that time in my life. I would sing also and wanted to be an opera singer way back then. Maybe if I sang real pretty, I would be adored, or at least have some approval from my mother and father. And I would go on the back porch and with my cats a lot. It was called names for being with the cats. Like told, I believe I'm a cat, and things like that. So that's the end of chapter 3 of my book, Who Took My Self Esteem. And I don't know what song to sing. I'd like to sing a song, but I just don't know which one I want to sing. And I didn't think about a song. And I don't have one prepared. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. And that maybe by me reading these chapters, it'll help you to understand why maybe you're struggling as a young adult or as an adult, and you don't understand that your childhood was so important to your future, and that you can heal from it. So have a wonderful day and take care.